Howdy folks, do you remember this car? This is my 1969 Dodge Charger. It sat in a field for 34 years in a small town in Oklahoma. Now, me being from Tennessee, that was about a good 1,500 mile round trip just to go get this car. And if you want to support this car, this build, this whole journey, make sure you go and order your t-shirt from McCool Auto store. The link is down in the description below. As we got home with the Charger, I was ecstatic. It was a journey, it was a wild ride, and I was so happy to have it home. My main goal was to get it running, driving, and stopping and making something out of it. So the first step, got the old engine running, and it fired up and actually sounded really good. Now keep in mind as you listen to this, hindsight's 2020. I know some of the things that I did to this car was stupid, and I wish that I had done it differently looking back, but now is that chance. Here's the opportunity to fix all my mistakes. So my goal at this point was to go on a Hot Rod Power Tour 2019. So that was what we did all of like 2018 and 2019, get this car prepped, ready to go. Now what I'm doing is I'm working a full-time job, coming home, I'd get home about 5 o'clock, eat dinner, go out in the shop, work for a few hours, and then go to bed, wake up at 5 a.m., go back to work, and just repeat until the Charger was something of a car. I ended up pulling the engine, the transmission, rebuild the entire front suspension, disc brakes swap, had to do all new brake lines, fuel system, put together a motorhome 440, aluminum heads, cam, that's what's still in the car right now. It wasn't up to my standards. We did a lot of work and we tried to accomplish more than I could physically do at the time with my time crunch. And again, knowing what I know now, I would have done it totally differently. After all that though, it did make it to 2019 Hot Rod Power Tour. That was probably one of the hardest trips I've ever driven on. And you can ask any of the guys that was with me, my car struggled. It looked amazing. It looked so cool. It sounded awesome. But it drove terribly. The converter was too loose. Just to get moving, you had to rev this thing up to like 3,500 RPM, 4,000 RPM. On top of that, it overheated. That was one of the big kickers. Every time you hit traffic, and you hit a lot in Power Tour, this thing would immediately hit 215, 220, 230, and it was running super rich to the point where it would just shoot black smoke out of the exhaust like crazy. And with the exhaust, I had electric cutouts because I thought it was gonna be fancy and you'll flip a switch and make it really loud, except those leaked. And those were right up under my feet, and I had no carpet, no insulation, nothing. So my feet going down the interstate on a hot summer day were cooking. So to roll the windows down, I'm grabbing this little power probe right here. You can reverse the polarity on the power window motors, switch the wires around, and do a ground here, power here, roll the window down, switch it, power here, ground here, and then it would roll back up. Needless to say, I had a miserable time. 3,000 miles of just pure torture with this car, pouring water over the radiator, sitting in the staging lanes, pulling into each venue, trying to keep it from overheating and just not blowing up. So when I got home, the car got parked. I was over it, I was done with it, I was mad at it. I did all this work, spent all this money and its time on it, and it was probably worse than what it started out with. Fast forward 3 years. Yes, the car sat for 3 years in my barn. I wanted to get it back out, and I wanted to do Power Tour 2022. That included doing a QA1 full tubular cross member, control arms, rack and pinion steering, coilover suspension. We did all that, accomplished it. It looked great. Fixed a few problems here and there that we had. Pulled the engine out, actually put a milder cam in it, repainted a few things, rewired a few things, made it just a little bit more nice to kind of deal with, you know what I'm saying? I fixed quite a lot of stuff that I wanted to accomplish, but when we got to get ready to go, again, it got down to crunch time. We were bleeding the brakes up on the lift. I did not realize that I did not order this, but it needed a residual valve because the rears were still drums at this point. You have to have a residual valve in line if you're running a disc master cylinder. So we spent an entire day trying to bleed the brakes. The fronts would do just fine, the rears mirrors would do nothing. It's 2 days before power tour. I can't get a residual valve in time. The car doesn't go. So of course, at this point, I am defeated. I'm upset, I'm mad. I can't believe that it doesn't make it again. So the car gets parked in the back of the shop. Here we are, back again. But this time it's different. Fully intend to get this thing running, driving, stopping, and make this thing go on Power Tour 2024, Holley MoParty. We're gonna do the autocross. We're gonna do all the things I wanted to do with this car originally, but make it sensible, make it drivable, and make it usable. We've got a battery in here, not the right one. I need a good side post and a top post for my MSD, but there's a little fuel in there. There's no seat in here. You have a bucket I could borrow? We got lights in here. It's trying its best. Something's weird with the carburetor. I never really dialed in the timing whenever I got it running. I have to break in the cam. I think it still has the break-in oil from whenever we did the cam swap. Listen to that though. This thing runs bad. Wow. Man, that was intense. Well, did you see that? That's how long this thing's been sitting in here. Woo! And the brake light switch is misadjusted, so that's great. Yeah. Very bad, but it sounds good. Well, Charger is up on the lift, and today we are planning on trying to clean this thing out and get it to where we know what we have, basically. Get a baseline, sort some issues out, get all the stuff off the roof, maybe even clean it. First things first, we adjusted the rears because the brake pedal would basically go to the floor, and the pedal seems a lot better now. So inside the car is where we're going to be focusing today, because we have a lot of stuff just kind of laying around. As you can see, we've got a makeshift wheel and tire for a seat. I've got door panels for it. We've got some patch panels that need to be removed and replaced. Some power window switches that I'm going to try and rig in, and really just want to clean up the interior and see what we can do to make it look better. Now, biggest thing is, of course, getting that patch panel sorted out, but I think we can make it happen. So first things first, let's just get all this stuff out of our way. That door don't want to open? No. It don't? I didn't get it. Never mind, it's hard enough. You had to want it. Well, let's get our seat back out of the way just for a moment. Again, these are just some generic power window motors I bought just to get the switches out of. Trash, more trash. Oh look, QA1 stickers. Most importantly, that needs to go on the car at some point. Okay, helicopter flying over. I stole the headlights out of it to put in a different car. I don't really know why that's in here. The old breaker bar. This is Luke Finley from Thunderhead 289. I don't really know why it's in my car, but it's here. I think we used it as a hood prop when my car was overheating on Power Tour. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. We'll just have to get up under the car and unplug that. Briar's pulling out the old patch panels that we had on the floor. Dad made these for me back in 2019. We were desperate and we were like, oh, we got a week or so to get ready for the trip, and I still had giant holes in the floor. I'm like, what do I do? And Dad said, well, I can make these out of a bedside. So he proceeds to cut the sides out on a parts truck and makes that floor for me. And he glues it in and self-taps it in, and here we are. So thanks, Dad, appreciate the help. I don't remember how bad these were, but from the bottom they don't look great, so it's probably not going to be a pleasant surprise. Pretty big patch, Briar, ain't it?
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Ooh.
Oops. This is inside the car with Briar, and right now I'm fixing Dylan's big mistake. What's new?
Hey man. 2018 Dylan was an idiot. 2024 Dylan is still an idiot.
A little less.
Ooh, there it is. Uh-oh.
Oh, it's not as near as bad as I thought it was going to be.
That little hole there, and then the big hole in this panel right here. Yeah, we just laid it on there and said, yep, good enough. But I have all that. I have every bit of that to fix it. I didn't have any money, Brian. I didn't know what I was doing, okay?
Brokey.
I had enough to buy the card, and that was it. This was early YouTube days when I didn't know what I was doing. And I still don't, but...
You already cut that one out.
I cut a hole and then didn't do anything with it. I was like, well, that's a hole. Yeah, I cut that spot out and then I never did anything with it. Brand new. As you can see, this is a little bit of a ventilation problem. So we're really just going to replace here back, because the rest of the floor pan, after we clean it all up and, you know, whatever, is really, really nice, and there's zero rust at all. And I just didn't see a need to have to cut all this out, drill out all around the frame rails and do all that stuff. But there's no point to it if it's that good. We'll clean it up, prep it, and make sure it doesn't rust anymore, but there was just no need to do any of this. I cut this piece out. I don't remember doing it, but apparently I did. So we'll probably have to cut a little further forward on this side, but we can still make it work. So regardless, the pan on this side is good here, at least the extension piece, but the piece for the floor pan is not. So we'll have to drill out these spot welds on this side, and over here, we'll just have to replace the pan and then all this and the extension and everything. So it is what it is. I went ahead and drilled out this parking brake mount, just put all the spot welds out of it, and we just let it hang down. We drop the brake line so we don't accidentally cut it. I've marked off where I want to cut. Running out of floor to sit on. Look at me. Now I'm comfortable. And I'm dangerous when I'm comfortable. Well, I'm an idiot. I had the foresight to drop the brake line so I wouldn't cut it, but I forgot about the fuel line on the other side. Dump gas everywhere, of course. But hey, you know, bright side, all this is where I'm going to have to put my post filter for the fuel injection if we get to that. You know, it is what it is. It works. It's fine. We just made a cut where we didn't really intend for it to. Well, there's everything removed from the passenger side. Here you go, Brian, you can have that. Just don't slice yourself. That's a lot of spot weld drilling right there, I'll tell you what. We had to drill all these out and actually had to cut them and bend them up so I could get the old pans out. Now we got to go through, do the exact same thing on this side. This is the least fun part, is cutting all the old stuff out. And whenever you get to the point of putting everything back in there, it gets nice. But you got to get worse before you can get better, right? That's the last bit. So, here's the next step. See all this? We gotta clean all this up. We'll probably prep inside the frame rail just to be on the safe side. But the main goal is all through here where these pans have to weld into. Right here, all on this bottom lip side, we're gonna clean it up really nice and then get some weld through primer, prime all this and make sure that it doesn't rust when we actually weld these two pieces together. Because if you let moisture get in between that, eventually it's going to rot back out. We don't want that. But the good news is all of our rust that we were having trouble with, well, it's gone now. And we've got the tunnel here to kind of use as a template. I could have just cut all the way across, but I figured this will be a good starting point to, you know, mate up these pans first. We got to mate up the back pans and then add on the extension pieces to the seat pan. So we're working good. We're getting some good progress going here. Main thing is to not get in a hurry. What do you think, Briar?
This is interesting.
Have you learned anything?
Yes, boring.
Sorry I couldn't entertain you better. What do you think about spot welds?
They suck.
Yeah, they do. I do hate spot welds. Hey, look there. Pretty good view here. You got plenty of access to your necessities. Make sure the drive shaft is still in the car. You know, good stuff. So we were just talking, like really all you need is this part forward because the seat's bolted. Well, that's one of the mounts for the seat. So maybe you do need a little bit more than that, but if you're over here, you're kind of fine. So there's your good little view. I bought this full floor pan from AMD 5-6 years ago, and I never used it. I actually got this from Stevens Performance down in Anderson, Alabama. Great people if you haven't checked them out. If you need MoParty parts, I guarantee you they probably have it. So this whole floor pan, I think I purchased it because I wanted to do fronts, rears, and realize that you could buy just like the section, like where it doesn't have the trans tunnel in it, but I think one side might have been out of stock, and you know, you could piece together all four pans and then it cost close to the same. I don't remember, but anyway, I just decided to buy this whole thing, and I was going to put the whole pan in it, but we and Brian were just looking at like, there's no point to replace the fronts because they look just as good as these, so we'll save this maybe for another project and cut out what we need out of this one. And really all we need out of this side is this portion, and then we'll go over there to that side. I want to do it one at a time, practice on the smaller side because it's a little bit easier to deal with, but we're just going to cut what we need and leave the rest. This is not a place for puppies. Aha! Here, put that in if you don't care. All right, there you go. All done. Go ahead and put the seat back in, Briar, if you don't care. See this little gold line here? This is a Sharpie. So what I did was I laid the pan in there, got it to where I wanted it to sit, and then marked from the underside where my original panel is. So that way, when you get to the point of taking it back out, all you gotta do is trim it up to make it fit. Well, maybe. So I'm gonna go a little bit wide just so that I don't cut too much off, and then we'll be kind of safer with it. Briar, I hate to report, but I'm out of wheel. Can you help me?
Quick reload.
Oh! I think I'd already be shot by now.
Yeah.
Now the moment of truth. Ow! You know what? That's pretty close. With a little massaging and cutting here and there, we can really make that work. We're going to have to trim just a little bit on some of the spots. That's good. That's really good. We got the panel ready and trimmed to fit. Briar is drilling out some spot welds so we can get it to the braces underneath. And then we'll be ready to put this thing in. It was trimmed, might I say, perfectly.
Right now, I'm painting all this rusty stuff with Poppy's patina chassis armor. Nice and sticky and black.
Tell them what happened last time you used
The
it.
last time I painted the 58, the ceiling of it. Worst day I've ever had here. It's all over me. It took 2 weeks to wash off.
I didn't tell him that he didn't need to get it on. Well, I did tell him, but
There was no way.
I don't think he took me very seriously that day because it got all over him. And he'd come into you had to go to school like that, didn't you?
I just wore long sleeves in like the middle of August.
And he had black paint all over him because that stuff right there, chassis armor from Poppy's patina, is absolutely serious. I mean, it does not come off for anything. But it's meant for rusty surfaces, like on the inside of these frame rails. And the plan is we're going to coat all this stuff on in the inside here, in between this. Good luck, Briar.
A lot of fun here.
Just keep it off of you if you can help it.
I will try my best this time.
And then inside the car, you can see the damage, but it's getting better. We're going the opposite direction now, thank goodness. Main thing we got to start with is get those back panels done, and then we can weld the filler panels in. But you can see everything is just about trimmed up, ready to go. You get the idea how this thing's going to go and how it's going to look when it's all said and done. Before you know it, we'll have some panels. Look at there. Briar's turn. Yeah, just do it right on that little spot right there. It's pretty close.
awful.
Hey, it's okay.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Well, it's not bad for your first try. He's literally never touched a MIG welder before in his life. He's done stick, but not MIG. It's different. It's totally different.
That was bad.
No, it's okay. Hey, I mean, you should see the first time I MIG welded. It was bad. It was actually, most of it was in this car, to be honest with you. And it was ugly. But hey, a grinder fixes all things. There's one pan done, all welded in. We're about 25% of the way. I started grinding down on the welds because I'm no professional, to make it look a little bit nicer and then seamless basically, but then I got bored and decided let's go ahead and finish up this welding job. Now we're gonna move on over to the other side. Everything laid in there fairly decently. And this was our bigger panel that we had to replace, so you know, it's a cakewalk from this point, I hope.
Don't jinx it.
Well, that's too late. And there you have it. We got the driver's side all finished up. Again, just need to clean up our welds, and we've already cleaned up where we're going to spot weld the bracing for the gap here. So everything's good. It's looking great right now. I'm very excited. I mean, I really enjoy welding. I'm not the best at it, but it actually is kind of therapeutic. So everything lined up though. You can see our body lines matched up pretty well. Same thing over there. And the cool thing is with floor pans is like, it's not really gonna matter too much how they look if they don't come out perfect, but it is good practice for body work if you ever do any patch panels on the outside of the car. So it's always good to kind of take your time and do the best you can. I mean, again, my welds are not perfect, but they will certainly hold and do the trick. On the opposite side of that, we got this filler panel getting ready to weld in. We've got to drill some spot welds because I don't have a spot weld machine. So Briar's gonna go through here, drill out all these spot welds I marked for him, and then get it ready and prepped, because we've got a spot weld to the floor that we just welded in on this side, and then we've got to spot weld the seat pan on this side. So we got to clean this side and clean it all up and make sure it's good. So Briar, without further ado, have at it. It's a little satisfying, isn't it?
Not that bad.
Look at there. Again, we've sprayed some weld-through primer over here, all along this panel right here, and I think it's gonna work out just fine. So good things are happening. I can feel it. That or I just have to go to the bathroom. I don't know. We've got stuff kind of spotted in. We did a couple of these spot welds along here. The panel fits great. I mean, I've used A&B stuff in the past and it's really fantastic. So when I did this, I went ahead and folded back our lip for the seat pan, and that all fit just fine. Everything's going great. I'm looking forward to seeing this thing actually done, because welding is fun, but man, does it take a lot out of you. So not a whole lot to do except another time lapse. You guys are just gonna love these welding time lapses by the time it's all said and done. Man, I tell you what, that is a lot of work right there. All the welds are done. We've got all of our spot welds in place. So this side, it's solid. Now what we're gonna do is we'll go back and prime all this stuff to make sure it doesn't rust in the future. And we're gonna do some seam sealer.
Now the factory didn't do seam sealer on like this, of course, because it was already one piece, but I'm gonna go ahead and just seam seal all of it where I have welded. I did shine a light through there, didn't see anything, but I just want to make sure that it's gonna be watertight. Now, the big thing is I could go back and smooth it out. As you can see, I ground all my welds on this because I started to fix it. I was like, I'll go ahead and finish it out. But then it's not really going to matter. It'll be under carpet eventually. Now, if you were doing like a concourse restoration, of course you'd want to go through and do all that. But we're building a race car here, folks. We just need something to not rust through. He's getting the other panel ready and prepped. Drilling us some holes for spot welds. And once we get this in there, this will be the final piece of the puzzle in getting this car rust-free. Well, mostly rust-free. Rust-free enough to where we don't fall through it.
Yeah. Just kidding.
He's been trying to go without earplugs. Imagine.
Not me.
Imagine not caring about yourself. Well, I can't even insult you. Imagine not even caring about your health and safety.
Can't even talk.
Nope. This is it, Briar. The last piece of the puzzle. Dixie, you're not helping at all. She wants in here so bad. Look at there. Lines up pretty good. Well, unfortunately, the driver's side floor pan is a little bit worse than the front than I thought it was. I had started marking out little different spots I could patch, like right there. There's a spot, 2 spots right there, 1 spot right there, this whole section here, and then this whole section here. So I figured instead of doing all that, we'll just cut it all out in one big piece, because all this right here, where the water would collect, it's pretty bad. You know, it's rough, it's not all the way through in every place, but it could become a problem in the future. So rather than making a ton of little tiny patches, we're just going to cut it all out. Now I still stand by the fact that it would have been easier to do it this way, because look at the rest of the floor. If you take that out of the equation, all that's original paint, all this over here, still very, very nice and good quality metal that we can prep and clean and put a rust preventative coating on it to make sure it doesn't have any problems in the future. And overall, this is not bad. This is way better than a lot of the cars I've worked on in the past. I mean, just a couple of small pinholes. That's stuff that really isn't a big problem, but we want to keep it from being more of a problem in the future without having to cut more metal out than we need to. Pan is patched, we just got to weld everything in. It's an odd shape, but I really just wanted to cut out what needed to be cut out. So I did that piece, and I did this little section on its own just because making all this fit together would have been kind of an awkward situation. So all we got to do is weld everything up separately. And then we should be done. The floor should be pretty much clean at that point and ready to go. Floors are done. No more rust. What a great day, let me tell you. Now, big thing is, you can see up under that brake pedal, there was a little section I had to cut out and replace, and then this floor pan here, completely done. We're not grinding our welds because we're gonna go over this regardless with seam sealer, just to be safe. You never know, because there could have been a small spot I missed. We don't want to be having any exhaust or water or anything coming through the floor. But look at that. All done, all primered up so it doesn't rust. And after we do that, we'll do a nice coat of paint on everything to make it look really nice and uniform. And we're done, folks. That's all it takes. Gosh, I can't wait to see this thing done. Just feels good to have a rust-free floor. Who would have thought? I'm very happy with that. Now, what we're going to do next is probably going to be messy. The headliner, I want it to come down because I'm tired of looking at just half a headliner. It's stupid. So we're going to cut that down and get it prepped to actually paint at the same time that we do the floors. I wanted to get all this down before we did any paint because it's going to make a mess. You know, that's just how it is. That'll get us one step closer to having this interior done. Our visors still look really good. And the rear view mirror. And all the trim around this looks really nice. Oh, a seatbelt bolt. Well, heck, this thing had shoulder harnesses? Oh, that one's cut. I had no idea that these even had shoulder harnesses. I mean, I knew they did from the factory, but I didn't know my car had them. Get on out of there. Oh, it was just finger tight. When I first got the car driving, the back of the headliner was sagging. So all I did was just cut that back out and leave this up here because it still looks mostly like a headliner. But I'm tired of it. Get out of there. Oops. Now what I will do is go through and pull all the trim later and get all the little pieces out from underneath it. I just want to get it to where when I start cleaning this thing and getting ready for paint, all this fuzzy stuff isn't going to land in it. There we go. Doesn't that look better? Got all that trash out of there. Vacuumed it up off the floor. Now all we got to do is prep it. I want to take all these headliner bows and save them and put them in a safe spot. But now the floor is clean, the roof is clean. It's about time we get the painting, don't you think? Well, heck, there's a lot of tape in here. What we did, we prepped the roof. I went and sanded everything down. We protected the dash, the windshield, all the glass. Here's a little better detail. As you can see, we weren't able to get into everything. So that is where Rust-Oleum satin enamel is gonna fill in the gaps. That'll kind of give it a nice, long-lasting protective layer over this and make sure that it does not have any issues at all. I think once we get all this tape off, you'll really be able to see how good this thing looks, especially when we do the floors. Oh, I can't wait. So it's as simple, starting somewhere, do a little paint.
folks, I hate to brag, but man, does that look so much better. It really changed the inside of this car. I mean, just to not have a rusty roof, it just, I don't know. It does something about this thing, because when I was driving this car, like I said, I just couldn't stand the inside of it. It was so ratty. Being ratty on the outside is one thing, but the inside I really would just like to be nice. And this is the first step of it. All that rust is gone. Keep in mind what it looks like right now. All sorts of different colors, a little bit of surface rust, primer, dirt. Think about it right now, and think about it here in just a few minutes when we get done. There you have it, folks. Roof is done. The floor is looking much better these days. It's much more uniform. There's no more rust. All of it is completely encapsulated in rust preventative paint. I like that. Now, the thing is, we're going to be covering up all the hard work with carpet, but, you know, at the end of the day, I feel better about it, and it should last for another 50 to 1,000 years, of course. So, floors are all done. No more rust holes. Nothing crazy going on. The roof looks fantastic. I mean, it's a good thing. I feel so much better now. That does not mean we are done with the inside. As you can tell, there's nothing in here. We still have to go through the dash. We still got to go through the door panels. We still got to go put carpet in it, the center console. Everything has to be done to this car. But at least we made a lot of progress today and got the floors done, roof done. Everything's looking better. But that's not it for this video. We still have some stuff going on in the back. Yeah, there was a gap that I couldn't quite reach from the inside. Briar's going to take care of that, including the wheel tubs. You okay?
Yeah, this is pretty scary because I have the whole gallon.
Yeah, I didn't have another little tiny quart, so I had to use the gallon, and sure enough, Briar's going to be swimming in it here soon. Briar did a great job. Finished out the paint, made it look very uniform and very nice inside, and we've already started using it again. I put all my door panels and all my pieces in here. It's great. So thank you, Briar. You did a good job on that. Everything is one color. No more rust here. And I hope this video shows that with a little bit of time, a little bit of patience, some basic hand tools, and a pretty good welder, you can do the exact same thing in your garage. It doesn't really take much, just the willpower and the desire to get it done, folks. So you can have this too. I want to reiterate that. It's something that anybody can do. Anybody can make this happen. And this car looks 10,000 times better, in my opinion, just by having all this done. Get your Charger shirts while you can, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure you subscribe and like so you do not miss out on more Charger content to come. Thanks so much, and I will see you in the next one.